Good evening from Scappoose, Oregon. My name is Marc Williamson. I'm an ambassador for the Nor-vise company, and this evening I would like to share with you a pattern that I use a lot, a pheasant tail. Matter of fact, a flashback pheasant tail I find to be successful both in rivers and in lakes. For the hook, I'm using a Daiichi 1730, size 12. With a brown thread. I'm going to wrap back to the bend, and at that point I will continue to wrap back up and trim off the excess. Get it out of my way, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap back up to the front, and one more time about 3/4 of the way or so back halfway. Now, for the tail, I'm going to be using good old-fashioned pheasant tail. I'll pull about 2 or 3, 4 maybe, plenty of barbules off the pheasant. I'll measure them to about the length of the tail is about the same as the length of the hook. Now, to get them in there, I like to set them about midway through the hook, get a pinch wrap on them or so, and then check the length and see how I like the length. I think it actually needs to be just a little bit longer, so I'm going to pull on those tails just a little bit more. Now I'm going to wrap back again, right back to the bend of the hook. In other words, I'm going to let that hang down, and it should be hanging just about at the barb. So trim these extras off a bit to get rid of them. Next, I add some very small copper wire to rib, and I'll bring that up on the side all the way up to about the front somewhere. Wrap that in, wrap it back again, right back to exactly the same place so that my thread will hang down almost approximately to the barb on my hook. For the body, I'm going to be using peacock strung, and I'll pull out about, I don't know, two strands of that. Get it out of the way. Snip off the little extras that I don't need so they're even. And I'm going to take those all the way back up to about 3/4 of the way up the hook. Right about there. And again, I'm going to put a get a pinch wrap on them to hold them right on top. A couple of those. And then I can wrap the rest of it down up forward and then start wrapping back all the way back to the wire out of the way, the same place. So by holding them up, I really force my thread to go right next to each other, as well as I'm going to wrap back to that same exact place that I was at, and then just go ahead and wrap on forward. I like to put a little 1/2 inch here in here just to make sure that everything kind of stays in place while I'm doing things. And now I'm going to take these and wrap these up, and with the advantage of the Norvise, I can easily hold on to those and wrap those right up to where, about 3/4 of the way up to where I left off my thread. Click the Norvise closed, bring my thread back down here with my bobbin, and I'm going to put 2 to 3 wraps behind, and then at least 2 in front. 1, 2, and then I can just pull those out, and if there's a little left, I'll trim it. Now I'm going to wrap my wire up to the front, and I'm going to wrap that counterclockwise because that tends to prevent my peacock, which is very brittle, from breaking quite so easily, and it tends to make the hook, or the fly I should say, last just a little bit longer. Not a whole lot. Put about 3 wraps in front, and again I'm going to go back and put about 3 wraps behind, and then I'm just going to helicopter like that off. Okay, for the flashback I am using a Vivas pearl material. Oops, I want to use the other one. And I'm going to pull off a little bit of that and trim it. I will lay that right on top. And even though I said I was going to tie a pheasant tail, and I'm obviously not tying a pheasant tail because I put in peacock for the body. Instead, I'll pinch wrap this up, get it twisted back on there again, and wrap back up. So no, this is not going to be a pheasant tail, but it'll be a nice pattern anyway. It's kind of a peacock pheasant tail kind of thing. So now with that, I'm going to add a couple more strands, probably just one, to build up my thorax. I really do love these Nor-vise bobbins. They are like the best. And I leave my thread back there in the back, so when I'm wrapping forward, I'm pushing it up with the peacock. And again, put a couple wraps in back, 2 or 3. Now, to make it just a little bit different than I was planning, I'm going to grab a couple more of my fibers off of my pheasant tail, and this will be quite an interesting pattern. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be at this point, but it'll be something. I'm pretty sure it'll fish, because I've tied these before and I've fished them. Put a couple of wraps on there, then I can adjust those legs shorter, like so. Couple of wraps. Get a couple more of them. Turn these so that they flare outwards away from the body, and put up one pinch wrap on them right on the side to hold them there. That's pretty good. Just like that. Now I can pull my flashback right over the top. And I'm going to tie that right up at the eye to begin with. And then I'm going to work my way back to build my head. And I'm going to pull the flashback up. And I'm going to put a couple of wraps ahead of that just to make sure that it will stay in place. And now give it a little whip finish. Trim my thread off. Hang it on my Norvise.